Okay, great. Well, today I want to thank everybody for joining me. I'm going to walk through a little bit about myself. So, I'm a LinkedIn top voice individual. I have over 25 years of experience in mostly the SaaS startup space, selling and growing companies within many different industries and verticals. So, that's a little bit about me, not to bore you. I work for Northern Lights Technology Development. We are a custom software solutions provider. We have over 850 developers, not contractors, not consultants. They're actually our employees who deliver exceptional service across many different platforms. So we service financial institution, convenience stores, restaurant chains, manufacturing, global automakers, retail, e-commerce, etc. So that's just a little bit about what we do. And we also do some business process outsourcing. So email, chat support, sales support, marketing support, things in that nature. We are part of a $2.5 billion privately held company called Taylor Corporation, which is also based here in Minnesota. We're mostly in the print, promotional, and marketing business. So today my topic is, using LinkedIn to build high value conference relationships, and that's winning before you arrive. So I've attended close to probably seriously 500 different conferences and events throughout the world throughout my career, as I'm trying to scale and promote who I am and what we do. So to talk a little bit about what we're going to do today, I'm going to help you talk about starting meaningful conversations early, securing meetings before your calendars fill up and their calendars fill up of prospects you're trying to speak with, walk into the conference with warm relationships, and then turn events into predictable pipeline partnerships and revenue. Most professionals usually wait for the conference and start handing out business cards and try to gather their contact information so they can contact them later or some type of scanning device. That's way too late. By the time they show up, they are going to be booked solid, whether it's meetings, dinners, lunches, or events. So that's huge to make sure that you stay in front of it. So the goal here is don't hope networking works. You got to engineer that. You have to own that. So by the end of this session, hopefully you'll be able to identify and prioritize high value conference contacts on LinkedIn, optimize your LinkedIn profile, which is very, very important, which we just talked about for pre-event credibility, send connection messages that actually get accepted, and start conversations that lead to meetings, not small talk, and then build a simple pre-event cadence. So that's very, very important. And then convert online conversions into in-person meetings, and then follow up after the after the conference to maximize your ROI. So one of the areas that I've noticed is when I used to attend conferences, I'd gather all the business cards. I would then send them a connection request when I got back, and I had very low acceptance rate. I then used to do it right at the conference and scan their badge or do whatever else it was, and then I had a little bit higher acceptance rate. But now my strategy is definitely do it way before the event, which definitely helps out making the connections with the thought leaders. So some of the common mistakes that I've noticed that people make here, they wait until the event starts to start networking. We talked about that. And then they rely on either booth traffic or chance encounters or hoping you know someone that's going to introduce you to someone else. That's another big mistake. Sending generic LinkedIn connection requests, as we just heard for the past 45 minutes, talking about making sure that it's not just so generic that there's actually value in every connection. You definitely do not want to pitch too early. There's nothing worse than someone sending you a connection request and within 2 seconds later, you're getting blasted with their whole elevator pitch and you don't even have the opportunity to get to know them or what they do and what problems they solved. And then one of the most important things, in my opinion, is no follow-up plan. So the reality is high value attendees plan their schedules week in advance, and they're also moving a lot. So you need to be moving a lot. You don't want to stay at a conference or an event when you're there in one physical spot. You need to walk the halls. You need to sit on the sessions. You need to sit by people. You need to understand what they're there for. So pre-event preparation, I usually do this between 2 and 4 weeks in advance, sometimes way earlier as well, maybe a full month. But step one, I go, who do I want to contact? Who should I want to meet and why? That's the biggest thing. And you can gather that again from the actual conference or the event website where you can pull all the contact information, the speakers. You're going to know kind of what they've done. You can also understand if they're at any other events that are going on around there. Step two, why? That's what I always teach people that I work with is why? Why do you want to meet them? What specifically, what value you're going to add them? You don't want to just meet them. You want to come with a solution to be able to help them. And step three, problem. Again, what problem are you going to help solve? So sales leaders, struggle. Some examples are sales leaders struggle with implementations. Certain leaders are struggling with hiring. Certainly, leaders are struggling with getting a return on investment. But what is it? And you can usually do your research on what they're posting on LinkedIn, what they're liking, what they're reading to help you solve that. So clarity drives relevance. So identify high value attendees on LinkedIn. So tactics, search the conference name. People also forget. I know LinkedIn got rid of the hashtags or it would have it on your left-hand profile in the column where you can follow hashtags and it would stay there. But now daily you have to log in and search for a specific hashtag because people will post that. And when you see people post those hashtags, every day I go in and start searching for that hashtag because more and more people are commenting on that. And then there might be multiple hashtags. So you have to do your due diligence of following those hashtags because people will post on there. And then the next step that I do also is I look at the people that like it or say, hey, I'm going to be there as well. Then I start researching them to say, are they going to be in my top, 10 to 20 people that I have to meet with? The event page, if they have one on LinkedIn, they have one on Eventbrite, or they actually have a landing page that's there. Make sure you review that. Sometimes they have people that comment on there or people that click register. I'm attending. You can also see who's there and go, wow, I really need to meet with that person. And then the speaker sponsors and exhibitors, that's a no-brainer, but that's where I always start. If the speakers are being solicited to speak at an event, they are thought leaders in the industry. They are seen as people that everybody should know and are help guiding the market and the industry that you're in. So for me, I stay very focused on the speakers. I try to connect with them. Trying to get a meeting with them on site is very difficult because they are pulled in 100 directions. So I look at that strategically a little bit different and try to do a follow-up, usually a month later, but I let them know that and I'll explain that later in this presentation. So next, then I create a tier, 3 tiers, who are I must meet, top 10 to 20, who are a strong fit, and then who are some that are going to be a big stretch. And so that's very, very important as well. Optimize your LinkedIn profile. Your profile is your landing page. So when people send me connection requests, I usually go read their profile, try to understand what they do. I also look at the amount of followers. What are they posting? Is it purely just a sales pitch or is it somebody that I need to stay close with? So what I recommend here is your headline. Clearly state who you help and how. Most people don't take advantage of that. They just say, I'm an account executive or I'm a CRO or I'm a CMO at such and such. But what do you do? And so for you, what do you do and how are you going to help? Your banner, reference your industry outcomes or events. So for me, we service almost every and all industries, but I'm honed in and my primary focus is, for example, health and beauty, retail, fashion, e-commerce. So I want to make sure that's on my headline and banner there. And then number 3, the about section, focus on the problems that you're solving, not your resume history. A lot of people go, I did this for 3 years and I got a blue ribbon that said, thank you for, helping with the potluck. Sorry to be sarcastic, but make sure that you're really pushing that out there. So ask yourself, if somebody sent you what you want to send them, would you even respond to that? It's the first thing that I do is I type up some type of connection request. Would I accept that? Would I believe in it? So some examples, this is very, very vague. So I always use their name when I'm doing the connection request. Hi, name. I saw you're attending the conference. I'm going as well. Would enjoy connecting with others in the industry or function ahead of the event. Would be great to connect here before we're on site. And if they do respond to that, that's one approach. I used to use that. I don't use that one as much, but what I would talk about is my first time attending. Tell me what you think. Where should I go? Are there any other private events, some restaurants? Who do I need to know while I'm there? Whatever it may be, or just the logistics. Or the one I usually use is hello, name. I saw you're speaking at conference and city location. I'll be a first time attendee and I'm looking forward to expanding my network with thought leaders such as yourself. Thank you in advance for the connection. I always put my name, email, and my phone number so that I'm not hiding. So that's very important in my experience. What not to do, pitch in that connection request and use generic messaging. What works for me is you got to keep it short, must be relevant, event based, and curiosity driven. Try to make it definitely different. Sometimes I use a little humor because that's who I am, which also opens up the door and takes down that you're trying to sell to me. Also on these messaging, if you're going to a large conference and you see many speakers that are there, sometimes I do cut and paste to make it easier for efficiency because I can't spend all that time doing it. But on rare occasion, I will cut and paste some of my connection requests and use the same messaging. So start conversations without selling. So again, just to reiterate, there's a common theme here. Do not pitch. Do not ask for a meeting when you're doing that. Instead, wait a few days and ask to meet at one of the breakfast, lunch, or breakouts, or ask if they'd be open to dinner with other like-minded thought leaders. So sometimes when I go to events, depending on the city, if it's large, I know it's very competitive. But if they're smaller events where you might have 100 to 150 attendees, maybe even under 500, I usually ask several individuals if they'd be open to meeting for dinner to just talk about what we do, how we do it, what are the challenges that they face, and potentially if there's anything we can do to help. And then if I get interest in that, then I start inviting other people, and then I leverage their connections to say, hey, I'm bringing so and so in who's going to be at the table. We're going to share kind of best practices that's going on. They tend to accept that and feel less threatened when there's other people there. When you're on site at the event, of course, there's always breakfast, lunch, and dinners. I make sure that I bounce from table to table because those are usually about an hour or so in advance. And I try to, when I'm at the event, try to always take business cards. I'm old school. It also opens up dialogue with other people around there. And you're seen then as a connector of people. So I definitely like to do that. Excuse me. Meeting at a neutral breakfast area, others will join in on the conversation. They might introduce you to others. I've had that happen many times where I describe what we do high level. I don't pitch it, just say this is what we do. I change the topic talking about the Minnesota Vikings, which are okay, but mostly the LA Rams. Yes, they lost and I'm sad, but either way, those conversations, when you go more into a personal communication, they tend to open up more. They tend to like you more. And then they always say, or not always, but they'll say, hey, let me introduce you. I know somebody was just bringing this up earlier. So moving from conversation to calendar, I always share my contact info in the calendar invite. So for example, if someone says they're going to the conference, I wait a week and I say, okay, great, I'm going to put a placeholder on your calendar with my contact information. If we need to move it, we can move it, but I want you to have my information because I think it's important that we meet. So I usually schedule those for 15 minutes. I pick it where it's either right after breakfast, right before lunch, or after lunch, or before everybody leaves for dinner. And in that Outlook invitation, I say, thanks for connecting with me on LinkedIn. I look forward to meeting you at the conference. Here's my contact information, my cell phone number. If this time doesn't work, I'm not afraid to change it. But either way, let's stay in touch. Next thing I do, if and when they accept that invitation, I research and then I make a note. And what I do as a tip is I usually add in my Outlook calendar, I duplicate the calendar invite to myself and I put the information about that contact that I'm meeting. So when I'm there, I can bring up my phone, click that, and see my notes related to this individual that I'm talking about and two to three things that I want to ask them about their business before I start pitching what we can do. When I'm there, of course, in the meeting, I thank them for the meeting. I open dialogue about the event. Basically, why are you here? What did you like about it? Would you come back? What sessions are you looking forward to? And then I usually ask for permission to follow up in a week after the event to continue the dialogue. By then, you should already have established some trust that you're not just going to bombard them and get them on a demo right away or try to sell them something. And then after the event, I usually try to ask them again, can I schedule something on the calendar? And in that calendar invite, I thank them again for meeting with me. I usually try to type in the topics that I have because they're going to get inundated with emails. And when they open that calendar invite, either the day before or the day of, they'll clearly see, oh, yeah, I remember talking to him. I know who he is or she is. And now I want to make sure I attend that. And then results, you want to continue to build your LinkedIn network through your connections. If they'd like an introduction to anyone in your network, that's what I always ask as well. I ask them what other events that their colleagues will be attending. So the big one that I always say is, I'm building up my network with thought leaders. If there's anybody I can introduce you to, let me know. That is very valuable. And I have done that a lot especially over the last 2 to 3 years. So, and again, I am old school. I take business cards with me everywhere I go, and or I have a QR code on the back of my business card that goes into my LinkedIn profile, or I leave it on my lock screen of my phone to make it convenient for people. So when they come over and you have that conversation at the end, if it's a good connection, I say, here, scan my QR code, connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can then follow up later. So, some key takeaways before I wrap it up here: conversations beat pitches every day, relevance beats volume, and last but not least, preparation is huge, creates predictability. So, if you're spending time and money and energy on attending conferences, you owe it to yourself to extract the minimum value. Don't leave relationships to chance. Win before you arrive. So on here again, I have my QR code on the top left here for my LinkedIn. I also have a dot card if anybody wants to connect a little bit more. But here's my contact information if anybody would like to reach out to me. I'm here to help. I'm here to make connections. So I'll leave it up or open to questions.
Oh, thank you so much. It was very insightful. I'm just taking notes during the presentation. I guess we need to wait a bit because it's a very small delay between our conversation and LinkedIn Live. So
Great.
your speech it's it's still in progress on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So right now I have several questions. So, if you don't mind, if someone has only 7 days before a conference, what's the one LinkedIn action that gives the biggest ROI?
I always would post about it immediately, at least every other day prior to the event. If you have that short notice and you haven't been able to slowly promote it. The second thing I would do is go to the conference page and I would make sure you sign up for all those private events, or dinner events or networking events. You'll often find some of the vendors will or partners will be hosting events for first time attendees. Or if you're in such and such industry, we're all meeting up at such and such restaurant. Please join us. Register here. And then the third thing I would do is connect with is the speakers that are relevant to people that you definitely want to follow.
Okay, see, thank you so much. And we have another question from the audience. What's the biggest profile mistake you see that kills pre-event credibility instantly?
If you're a business development rep or an account executive,
Hmm.
I when they see that in a title, I think people get a little leery of it. So I try to modify that a little bit into something different. That just says, we assist companies or whatever, because then it leaves that intrigue. They're a little intrigued, going, okay, are they a sales rep or are they a thought leader? What are they? Not that you want to lie to them about it, but they tend to accept more of that. If they see you're a sales rep or a BDR, they know your job is to schedule appointments and meetings. They tend to get a little leery, in my experience, with accepting those invitations.
Okay, I see. Thank you. And we have a question regarding, this small badge on LinkedIn verified profile. What do you think? Is it worth it? Is it important in these conversations, in this outreach system?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. I heard something about a profile.
Yes, it's about this profile, verified profile badge on LinkedIn profile.
Oh,
Sometimes
verified.
if you verify it with your passport or ID, you have the badge and this mark that you are verified. So, what do you think? Is it necessary? Is it important? I mean, especially for the person you are reaching to?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's that important, but I think it's helpful. I know some people are skeptical about loading some piece of document up on that's
Uh,
could be accessed or hacked, but on that other sense, I don't know, and I haven't heard. That's a good question. I'm going to start asking now when I'm at events. I have 9 more events I'm going to here by from February or Saturday through the end of March, so I will definitely ask that to try to gain some feedback on that. But yeah, I don't personally look for that. when I connect with people. But you never know. I'll ask different titles or levels, C levels to directors, to managers, to supervisors, to ask them if they use that at all, or does that help them accept or decline an invite or ignore?
Oh, yes, I see. Yes, I
That's a
agree
great
with you,
question.
Yes, yes. In my perspective, it's more important to see the history of like a profile, right? Like posts or followers, something like this. It's, versus this verified page. It's more important, especially if sales
Yes,
propositions.
I agree.
Okay. We have another question from the audience. How do you decide who is worth reaching out to when the attendee list is huge?
How do you decide? Well, for the attendee list now, are you talking pre-attendee or post? So usually at the event, if you're walking around, hopefully you're capturing cards or scanning some information that you can go back. So I start there. The second thing are the people, if you are exhibiting at an event where you have an actual table or a booth, people that drop their cards off, I always ask them to drop cards off. So in the CRM, I'll flag those as contacted, showing that they've already had some type of engagement with us at the event. From there, then I either start with titles and I look for my ideal customer profile. It's also AI does help you a lot more and kind of segment that out. Or you can cross reference that with your list that's in there. So hopefully, your database or your CRM, you either have data scientists or people that, from an operational standpoint, look at that data and can say, we have higher statistics if we have C level or conversions if we have C level that are in a larger community that have revenue generated over X, and then you put those to the top of your list for follow up.
Okay, thank you for this advice. It would be really helpful. Okay,
Yeah, and the biggest thing with these
yes,
events, sorry, and I'll add to that,
yes.
is your return on time invested, and that's the
Hmm.
big thing. So I used to
Hmm.
create and do a lot of research prior to these events, targeting specific accounts and print up information and have a folder
Hmm.
customized for them, and I didn't get much response from it. So even though I
Hmm.
felt that I would love if somebody handed that to me, my target audience
Hmm.
didn't care about it. Even the people that did accept it that I called, I asked if it was helpful. They said, yeah, but to be honest, I have so much when I get back from a conference that just got thrown on my desk and eventually got put in the garbage. So that's helped me then change my whole presentation of how I'm going to approach these events, connect with them more in person, and not be so here's some information when you have time, because they don't have time. So you really need to evaluate, where do you want to spend your time, and are you going to get some type of return from that?
Okay, yes, true story. We have a question from LinkedIn Live. Do you recommend sending this as a connection request note or connecting first and sending a short DM after they accept?
I've seen it both ways. I have asked that over my career here of, if I send a connection request or someone sends a connection request that just says, hey, wants to connect with you, if I'm understanding the question correctly, do they accept that, or do they prefer some type of, hey, this is what we do? I was told, and it was about 70-30, 70% of them said, yes, I prefer and I will not accept anything that does not have a note on there. The 30% said, I just accept it if I'll go in, look at the profile, and if it looks good, then I hit accept. But that's an extra step. So I try to, when I make connection requests, add a little blurb, whatever it may be. This is who I am. I'm looking to connect with thought leaders in the industry. I would appreciate the connection. If I can introduce you to anybody in my network, let me know. Thank you. And that's my connection. First connection request.
Okay, I see. Thank you so much. And we have another question. Minnesota Timberwolves traded Carl Anthony Towns despite he was number first draft. Sorry, it's from another one. Okay. Just a joke. Sorry.
That's
I
good.
have also actually we have a serious question. How do you move from a LinkedIn conversation to an in-person meeting without, sounding pushy?
Could you repeat that one more time just to make sure I fully comprehend what you're asking?
How do you move from a LinkedIn conversation to an in-person meeting without sounding pushy or, keep it under pressure?
Great. So for conferences or events like this, if I see somebody that I definitely want to connect with, that let's say they posted on LinkedIn that they're going to be at such and such conference, they always say, hit me up if you're interested. So I will comment on that post and say, I look forward to seeing you, or I'm excited to be there as well. I'll send you a direct message. And then I send the connection request saying, hey, I saw that you're going to be at this event conference. I will be too. Let's connect. Once they can accept my connection request, then I send them another LinkedIn follow up right when I receive it or as soon as I open it up and say, hey, great, I'm looking forward to it. I'm arriving on Monday. I'm leaving on Thursday. Do you have 15 minutes in there? Was one day better than another that we can sit down and I'd love to learn more about what you do, what works best. That approach definitely helps me. And once they give me that, then I go back to what I mentioned earlier in my presentation here is I send that Outlook calendar invitation for 15 minutes and I clearly list it as a placeholder so they don't feel like, man, I'm stuck here. Because you have to understand they're going to be pulled in a lot of different directions as well. From there, then I say, let's meet. We'll to be determined at the place. And then once you're at the hotel, then that's where I kind of then send the message or a text because I always provide my cell phone number and they always provide theirs. I'll say, I'll text you when I get there. We can find a neutral location. From there, then it's, do you want to walk to this space, this restaurant, or do you want to walk to the hall, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And then my conversation is, hey, thanks for meeting. And I always go right into, why'd you attend this conference? What do you think about it? What do you hope to get out of it? And then from there, it's tell me about what you do. And it just is, as it's just human nature. They ask back, what do you do? And why are you here? And then that's where I go in and I try to tailor that message because I've reached out to them. I've done my research of here's how we can help you specifically. And then from there, it just carries on. You'll see them at the conference or the event later on, or you stop by the bar or the restaurant. You'll be able to stop by and say hi as well. But that's how I approach it is usually more talk about the conference event. What do they think they're going to get to it? What other events are they going to? Because again, that will help you understand more of what are they trying to accomplish here and can you help them with that?
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And if you invited somebody for in-person meeting, should you pay for the whole bill or should you split it?
That's a great question. It depends on your situation, but if I'm asking somebody, I always pick up the tab.
Okay, okay, thank you.
If I'm the
And
one reaching out, if they're reaching out to me, I just assume they do, but I always offer to pay for my half when the bill comes. I always say, "Do you want me to pay? I got my half." They usually say, "No, I invited you. I got it." So
okay, just it would be just
it's a
polite, right?
great question.
I know I invented it myself.
But that's why when you're at the event, I always try to do it at the lunch because their lunch goes for an hour and a half usually or an hour. And you can say, let's meet for lunch. The lunch is already paid for. You're just finding a table where other people will join you. And then the conversation is shared not only with that contact, but other people that you may not have been able to connect with.
Yeah, true story. Okay, we have a couple more questions. What's one thing people should never do in pre-event LinkedIn outreach?
Pitch. As I mentioned
Hmm.
on there, I mentioned it several times. Do not pitch. When somebody accepts your connection request, there's, in my opinion, and I've asked this a lot, is what annoys you the most is when that pitch comes and your email or the LinkedIn messaging is, 4 paragraphs long, where it's like, you don't even know what I do. Why are you pitching me? I haven't even had the opportunity. You told me you wanted to connect. I don't understand. So that's where I stay away from that pitch. You need to make it lighthearted. Sometimes when I talk to people, when I'm at an event, I say, I'm not here to pitch you, but let me tell you what I do. They then will start asking questions. Can you do this? Oh, can you do middleware for me to help me integrate all of my types of software where I don't have to log into every one? Yeah, absolutely. Then that's where the pitch comes in because they're soliciting it. In my opinion, telling them what you do and what your ICP is not really a sales pitch. When you get into, we can help you do this, or maybe we could help you do that. Oh, hey, I see you do this. Let us handle that. That's the pitch. Let them take you to that pitch.
Okay, okay. It's always about, seeking common points, right?
Yes.
And to release. Okay, cool. And I guess we have one last question. After the event, what's the one follow-up action that actually turns conversations into pipeline?
Great question. After you've had the initial conversation, I usually will, if I have their business card or, of course, piece of paper, I'll take a note. And then if I feel that there's a good fit there, then I go a little bit more aggressively after that, of course, but I ask them for their time frame, of course, when you go back into the buying process, what's your time frame for accomplishing this? Now, if it's something they didn't even know that they needed and you brought it up, they're not going to have one. But the best thing I always do is I tell them, I'm not going to follow up with you next week unless you absolutely want me to. You're going to need to be caught up on your emails, all the other stuff that you're chasing down. What is a couple of weeks from now? Let's talk about getting something on the calendar for the next couple of weeks here. And then that first meeting is usually how'd the conference go for you? What'd you think? Da 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 da. Well, here, let's carry our conversation on. And then you're slowly adding kind of the next steps for meeting their time frame or making the sales pitch to add to your pipeline.
Okay. Thank you so much. I guess it was really insightful for all of us, and I really appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
take care. And
let me remind to our attendees to make sure that you send connection request to Roger, as well as you can send connection request to other speakers because they always share great content. You may find even more insights by following them, and also stay in touch. I believe you
okay.
might be interested in getting connected with them.
Thank you. Let me know where I can help.
Okay.